Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, yesterday, the Remain camp deployed their biggest weapon in the EU referendum campaign in the form of a blockbuster report from the Treasury, warning of the dangers of Brexit. Today, the Leave camp hit back with a speech from one of their biggest hitters, Michael Gove. The Justice Secretary set out his upbeat case for how Britain would thrive outside the EU and warned the bigger dangers would come from staying put. Kieran Jenkins has this report.
It's Project Fear, and it's coming to scare you. At least that's how the Leave camp are billing the Remain campaign.
The idea that if Britain voted to leave the European Union, we would instantly become some sort of hermit kingdom, a North Atlantic North Korea, is a fantasy. It's a phantom. It's a great, grotesque, patronising and preposterous Peter Mandelsonian conceit.
It's becoming even snipier. Michael Gove, the most senior Vote Leave campaigner, accused his opponents, some of them senior cabinet colleagues, of treating the public like children. Not for him, Project Fear, but something akin to Project Sunshine. Leaving the EU, he said, would be a happy journey to a brighter future.
For Britain, voting to leave will be a galvanising, liberating, empowering moment of patriotic renewal. We will have rejected
There'd be financial freedom, he said, control over borders and over billions in EU funds. But if we voted the other way, well, suddenly the sun went in.
If we vote to stay, we're not settling for the status quo. We're voting to be a hostage, locked in the boot of a car, driven by others to a place and at a pace that we have no control over.
There was also a strong hint that Britain would leave the single market.
It's striking how successful countries outside the EU have been at negotiating trade deals. Switzerland has opened markets of $40 trillion, while Canada has negotiated 10 trade deals since 2009 alone.
The suggestion from Michael Gove was that Britain can have it all, can opt in on free trade, opt out on regulation and the free movement of people. What there weren't, though, were any guarantees. If there is an outvote, at the very least, all this will be the subject of the most intense negotiation.
Well, the Leave campaign have admitted today that Britain would be outside the single market. Well, that's a huge risk for jobs, for investment, for trade. And I think the problem is they're still not saying what it would actually mean. It's just a kind of cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Of course, the Treasury spelled out yesterday what leaving would mean and cost. Today, some Tory backbenchers were fuming.
A speculative report based on thoroughly tendentious figures about what might or might not happen in the event of Brexit simply belittles the reputation of the Treasury for economic competence and forecasting.
We've set out in the Treasury analysis a range of possibilities for the alternatives that might happen if Britain leaves the European Union. All of them would make Britain permanently poorer. But I would say to him, if he wants to produce, or the Leave campaign wants to produce their own plan, their own analysis, be my guest.
This evening, though, what this man wants is at least a little clearer. No less than a one-time only deal. Now, where have you heard that before? Kieran Jenkins, Channel 4 News, Westminster.
Well, obfuscation, hyperbole and bluster. That's the verdict on the referendum debate so far from the billionaire businessman Sir Tom Hunter. Fed up with what he sees as the untruths spinning out of both sides in the EU campaign, Sir Tom, who isn't so far backing Remain or Leave, has hired his own team of academics to come up with some facts. Well, he's shared the results exclusively with our business correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi.
Sir Tom Hunter, Scotland's richest man, has swapped the boardroom for a bigger stage. He's entered the political arena just 9 weeks before British voters take to the polls.
I don't believe in telling people how to vote. I believe people can make up their own mind. But you need to decide through the facts whether you think Britain will prosper within the EU or out with the EU. It's a complex decision. It's done with feeling and fact. We're providing the fact. The voter provides the feeling.
But it's a sad day in politics, isn't it, when a businessman has to come forward to give objective economic information to the public.
I just think leaving it to the politicians alone to inform us is dangerous because they're not doing a good job. So there's Project Fear on all sides. The voters got to work out what's important to them. There are untruths being told by both sides, which hopefully our book busts and we put some facts on the table, and where we're saying it's an opinion or a forecast or a guess, we say it.
And what's the most dangerous untruth?
I would say that if we leave, we get control over our own borders and we're safer. It's just not true.
Fallacy.
Fallacy.
It's not just immigration that's at the heart of the debate on whether we stay in Europe. How much we fork over to the EU budget, what it means for sovereignty, and of course the economic impact. These are the key battlegrounds that campaigners are fighting for. The question is, how do you unpick these complex issues?
When trying to forecast the future, it's very difficult. So, you know, George Osborne came out yesterday with his piece saying it's going to cost every household £4,300 by 2030. You know, trying to forecast what's going to happen tomorrow is difficult. 2030, it's going to be wrong. But they're putting this out as a kind of fact. It's not a fact, it's a guess.
It seems nobody in this country knows who their MEP is. I mean, that's the first thing you have to say to anyone who's in Remain. Who's your MEP? No one has an answer.
I have no idea who my MEP is.
Well, this is the person who you're giving control. And in a world where you're supposed to have devolution of power coming closer to the voter, doesn't handing Europe powers go against?
You're saying we're handing power, so you're making sweeping statements. When you look at the facts, Brussels doesn't have that much power over what happens in Britain. There are a few high-profile cases in the media recently, but these are not the crux of power.
Sir Tom lobbed a similar pamphlet into the heat of the Scottish referendum campaign. Today's report takes a close look at how Brexit could shift Scotland's attitude to its place in the UK.
If we do leave the EU, I think it puts in play a whole host of constitutional challenges all over Europe.
Does it make you sad to think that's a possibility?
I never said how I voted in the Scottish referendum, and I'm not going to say now.
I thought we all had a good guess how you voted.
It's a guess, it's not a fact. But what I would say is it's interesting how our First Minister in Scotland loves the EU union, but doesn't seem to love the UK union.
Why is that?
I have no idea. I would love you to ask her that question.
You don't trust politicians?
I don't.
And should people trust you? You're a very rich man, Tom. Is this what accounts for philanthropy these days? Making sure people vote in the right way?
They don't need to trust me. I'm not asking them to vote a separate way. I'm saying you make up your own decision. I'll give you some facts.
Well, so Tom isn't the only one with the facts when it comes to the EU. We've done our own bit of research to find out if membership really does cost each of us £252 a year, as claimed by many Brexit campaigners. Are we giving Brussels £350 million a week while receiving nothing in return? Here's our latest fact check.
And you can check facts with Fact Check online anytime you want. YouTube, Facebook, it's all there.
I've been getting away with it all